Once there is no richness in soil, then we have forsaken the planet in many ways. If soil extinction happens, there will be serious food crisis on the planet, it's inevitable. Then whoever has the biggest guns will come and take the food. It's very, very important that soil becomes the focus, because soil is the only magic material that turns death into life. #SaveSoil is a global movement bringing together people and leaders to restore soil health by instituting national policies worldwide toward increasing the organic content in cultivable soil. Be the voice for soil. SaveSoil.org. Soil needs minimum 3 to 6% organic content to be considered healthy. But did you know, in many parts of the world, the soil organic content is at the bare minimum or even lower? Did you know that soil degradation was one of the main reasons for the collapse of great ancient civilizations including Mesopotamia, Mayan and Rome? We are now heading in the same direction. From the French Revolution to the Arab Spring, high food prices have been cited as a factor behind mass protest movements. 12 million hectares of topsoil are lost every year across the world. That's almost the size of the entire nation of Greece. The food that we eat today is severely lacking in nutrients compared to just a few decades ago. If the soil is not healthy, how can the food it produces be healthy? Fruits, vegetables, and grains like wheat have half the micronutrients they used to. If it's not in the soil, it's not in our food. The average mineral content of calcium, magnesium, and iron in cabbage, lettuce, tomatoes, and spinach has dropped 80 to 90% between 1914 and 2018 in the US. In Latin, the word homo, meaning human, is derived from humus, meaning earth. We are literally made of soil, in name and in substance. Adam is the Hebrew word for man, and comes from Adama, the Hebrew word for earth. Eve, in Hebrew, is derived from the word life, because she was the mother of all living things. There is no point planting seeds after you become hungry. Soil is the source of water for 90% of the world's agriculture. Increasing soil organic content from 0.5 to 3% will double the water retained by soil, decreasing the risk of flooding and drought. An increase of 1% of organic matter in the top 6 inches of soil holds approximately an additional 20,000 gallons of water per acre. Presence of earthworms can increase yields by 43 to 350%. We know more about the movement of celestial bodies than about the soil underfoot. 1 teaspoon of soil contains more living organisms than there are people in the world. A teaspoon of healthy soil contains 10,000 to 50,000 microbe species. We are losing an acre of soil every second. 50 to 70% of the carbon stored in farm soils have already been lost. By 2050, 90% of Earth's soils could be degraded unless we act now. 60% of the world's population is deficient in nutrients like iron due to lack of nutrients in food and soils. A University of Texas study on nutrients in fruits and vegetables in USA found declines in the amount of protein, calcium, phosphorus, iron, riboflavin, vitamin B2, and vitamin C over the past half-century due to soil depletion. In a single gram of healthy soil, one can find 100 million to 1 billion bacteria and 100,000 to 1 million fungi, which support the plant's growth and health. A study on nutrients in food concluded that we would have to eat 8 oranges to get the same amount of vitamin A as our grandparents did with 1 orange, because soil depletion has caused massive drops in nutrient levels in food. Up to 300% increase in crop yields have been observed by farmers who have fully shifted to sustainable agricultural practices in Africa. Africa has already lost half of its soil macrofauna species, i.e., creatures large enough to be seen with the naked eye. In sub-Saharan Africa, more than 180 million people are relying on depleted soil to grow food. Sustainable agricultural practices can increase crop production across sub-Saharan Africa by 65% by 2040. Farmers in the nation of Niger, which is almost entirely in the Sahara Desert, revegetated 5 million hectares of farmland with trees, leading to higher incomes, food production and groundwater levels. 45% of Americans are magnesium deficient, a condition linked to hypertension, diabetes and neurological disorders. Magnesium deficiency results from various factors, including nutrient depletion in vegetables due to soil depletion. A study on poor, marginal farmers in India found that agricultural practices that promote soil health led to a 230% increase in farm income. 2,250 square kilometers of farmland are lost to desertification every year in Mexico. Increasing soil organic carbon by just 0.4% a year in the U.S. can increase yields of maize by 14% and wheat by 20%. Up to 65% of productive land is degraded, while desertification affects 45% of Africa's land area. In France, farm soils on average have only 1.3% soil organic carbon. This is extremely close to the 1% threshold below which land is considered to be desertified. Soils without earthworms can be 90% less effective at soaking up water. The water flows on the surface and leads to floods. By 2050, the impacts of climate change on agriculture would lead to more than 143 million internal migrants across sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia and Latin America. Organic matter can hold up to 90% of its weight in water and release it slowly over time. This is a big help in drought-prone areas. It is estimated that soil extinction is costing the world up to $10.6 trillion every year. 40% of Asia's soils are already degraded. If the world's soils are not revitalized, they could release 850 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere due to global warming. This is more than humanity's emissions in the last 30 years combined. Since the dawn of agriculture, more CO2 has been released from soil and the clearing of forests for farms than from all the world's industries in the last 250 years. 42% of fields in UK were found to have low earthworm numbers, indicating that the soil was overstressed. Managing and reviving our soils could generate $1.4 trillion a year from increased crop production. Industrial agriculture is the main cause that is threatening 24,000 of the 28,000, 86%, species at risk of extinction. Previous research has shown that children who grow up on farms have lower allergy and asthma rates, a phenomenon attributed to their regular exposure to microorganisms present in farm soil.